Hi parents, Wendy Elaine Wright. I am a talent manager at WAW Entertainment in Los Angeles. And now I want to give you some success stories about kids that have gotten into the business and made it happen. I've told you about some stories where it didn't work out. I'll tell you about some where it did. So I was at a baseball game last year. I was singing at the opening day baseball season. I was singing the national anthem. And I saw a beautiful woman up on a hill. She was talking to some other women, and she had a little boy with her. And I learned that she was a life coach, and she was just, what great energy. I mean, this woman has so much energy, and I was drawn to her. And we were talking, and her child was, I said to her, my God, your child is so beautiful. Have you ever thought of getting him into commercials? And she said, yeah, we've thought about it. I said, well, I teach acting and singing classes just on weekends. I'm a talent manager, but on the weekends I coach kids. And I'd love to work with him for a couple weeks and get him an agent and see if he likes to do it. And she was like, I'd love that. So she sent him to me for about 8 weeks. And I worked with him for an hour or two every weekend. And we did on-camera work. I would give him scenes, and I'd record them, and then he would watch them back. He loved acting. He just loved doing the work, memorizing the lines, trying the lines different ways, trying to find out how he wanted to say them and with what energies and using different energies. He liked the process, and I could see that in him. This was really coming from him. He wanted to get an agent, so he wanted to be on television. He wanted to act. Okay, this is not coming from the mother. This is coming from the child. And that's the only time it really is really good. It has to come from the child. So I took some pictures of him. I didn't have him do any professional headshots. It's a waste of money right now because he doesn't even have an agent. So I took pictures of him in my office against a blank wall, and I sent them to several agents. And all 3 of them wanted to meet with him and his mother, which they did, and all 3 of them offered to sign the child. And now getting a commercial agent for kids is not a hard thing to do. You can get a commercial agent. Whether you get a job is a totally different story. Remember, the agent just submits the picture. There's thousands and thousands of pictures being submitted. So getting them an agent is not the hard part. Getting the job is the hard part. Anyway, I digress. He had 3 offers. His mother had him pick the agent he was the most comfortable with. So he picked the agent, and he was been going on auditions. He booked a couple student films. He booked the lead in 2 shorts, and then he auditioned for a Nickelodeon pilot, and he booked it. He didn't book a lot of things. You don't book everything. A career is like you do 10 auditions, you book 1. You do 20 auditions, you don't book anything. You do 5 auditions, you book 1 more. You do 20, 30 auditions, you don't book anything. It's up and down, up and down. And sometimes you get lucky and you walk in and you book, the first one. It's so rare that happens, but it can happen. But you don't build a career on that, okay? So I was guiding this mother. How do you get a Coogan bank account? How do you get your work permit? We had to do all that, and got him into acting classes over at Actors Site, and the child is working as an actor. He's not making a living on it. He's auditioning and getting some jobs here and there, and his parents are running him around like crazy to get him to these auditions, and he books some of those things. Will this turn into a career? I don't know. And the getting on a pilot is another conversation that I will have at a later date. That'll take way too much time to help you understand. Just because you get on a pilot doesn't mean it gets picked up, and I'll talk about that later so you understand that. There was another child, my very own, who she was just so beautiful. And I took pictures of her all the time. She was so, so stunning. I just was like mesmerized by how beautiful she was. So I was always taking pictures of her, like in Canada in front of the Empress Hotel, or in Puerto Rico, stand by that tower. Oh my God. Yes, it's perfect. And I would enter the pictures in contests and she'd win, and then she'd get the money. She'd be excited. And her father asked if I would get her into modeling. And she wanted to do it. And I'd been taking pictures of her for 3 years now. So she was so used to the camera. She could just turn and look at the camera and give you a look that was like, wow. So I took a picture of her against a wall behind a restaurant right here in our town. It was a beautiful blank beige wall. The lighting was just great at that moment. And she just looked into the camera in such a strong way, and I snapped a picture, and it was a stunning headshot. Stunning. And I don't take headshots for a living, so it was luck, you know. And I sent that picture to numerous talent agents, and they all wanted to meet her because she's so photogenic. She signed with Howard Talent West, and her agent Lynn loved her. She went out on auditions. I drove her around like crazy. You know, her father, we're just driving her around like crazy to auditions. And she booked numerous things. She booked a Visa commercial. She booked a whole Taco Bell ad, a print campaign. She booked a Montage Hotel campaign. She just booked. And everybody wanted her for things. And that's great. But after a certain period of time, she didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted a horseback ride. So we're done. And would that turn into a career? It doesn't turn into a career for everyone. So some kids have more potential to get the work than others. Yeah, I mean, if your child is extremely photogenic and enjoys being in front of the camera and enjoys the process of going to the audition and can actually do what they ask you to do during the audition with a positive attitude, their chances of getting the job, it goes up. If your child is not photogenic, your chances of getting a modeling job go down, right? Now, if your child is a natural actor, and like say you have 100 kids and you give them all a line and they all memorize it and they go out in the room and then they come back. Some kids are going to deliver that line like in a really funny way without any coaching or without even trying. They're just funny people. They're funny. The way they say it, their expressions, something quirky, it just makes people laugh. Who knows what that is in a person that the way they do it just makes them laugh. You know that. You watch comedians or watch actors on TV and just the way they say something just cracks you up. It's just their personality. It's just something ingrained, built in them. Some kids have that. Those kids are more likely to book a job than kids who've got nothing going on. Their face is empty. They're not really expressing anything. So yes, there's a natural propensity. But there are kids who are less talented, but they have more drive than kids who are talented. And the ones who have the most drive and the most persistence and the ones who keep going to auditions and in spite of the no's, keep going are more likely to book the work because they're not lazy and they're doing all the showcases with agents and with casting directors, and they've got great headshots, and they've got parents who really keep understanding the business and learning how it works. And, you know, in my ebook that helps parents break their kids into show business, I talk about all the things that you need to understand how the business works so that you can make your kids successful. If your kid has an upper hand like that, you know, the parents read the book, they know how the business works, that kid can be far more successful than a talented kid who doesn't understand the business and whose parents don't understand the business. So breaking your kids into show business is definitely doable. But there are things that give you an advantage and things that don't. And as I've said in other videos, it is also a long shot for anybody. But there's always work, you know. There's a difference, and if you can understand this, there's a difference between being a star, being a celebrity, being an actor who works consistently, being an actor who works occasionally, and being an actor who works rarely. There's a difference between those levels. Is there a space for your child in those levels? Most likely. Will they go all the way to the top? Probably not. It's rare that that happens. It takes a lot of factors for that to happen. And if you're really, really, really committed and your kid's really, really, really talented and you don't give up and you learn how the business works, yes, that's a very strong possibility. Most parents don't learn how the business works, so they flounder around a bit and they don't go anywhere. And I want to prevent that from happening, which is why I wrote the book, because in my ebook, I give you every single thing you need to know about it. And if you're trying to get your kids in this business, you're foolish not to have the information. Get it. I have a link below. It'll explain exactly how casting works, how every single thing you need to know. And so you don't have to send me emails and ask me, because I tell you in the book. Just wanted to just make sure you have a real clear expectation and understanding of the business. I don't want you to be coming out here blindly and foolishly with grandiose objectives that are not realistic, okay? So that's just a little information. I'll give you more in more videos as we go along. Let's talk about pilot season next.